Hello everyone. We will regularly bring you stories you like. A few days before Christmas, he is waiting in the arrival lounge at Manchester Airport in New Hampshire. I observed as his other families and loved ones greeted each other as they entered the lounge after a short flight from Boston. I'm waiting for my wife, Dr. Scarlett Walker, to arrive home. Scarlett has been working in Puerto Rico for the past 6 months, and I have not seen her in nearly a month since Thanksgiving. My name is Ryan Walker. My friends and co-workers call me Ryanie for obvious reasons. I'm the same age as my wife 27, but she's a doctor, whilst I'm an engineer who works in Manchester. I am 6 feet tall, with dark brown hair and brown eyes. Scarlett and I were high school sweethearts. We were each other's first love and lovers. We both then attended college together. However, I completed early because Scarlett was still studying to become a doctor. We married immediately after I graduated about 2 years ago and have been renting a wonderful 3-bedroom property in Manchester's northern suburbs for several years. Story begins. Scarlett's first job after medical school was with Doctors Without Boundaries, a non-governmental organization. They offer doctors 6 or 12-month contracts to serve in poor third-world countries where medical care is expensive. Many young doctors, including Scarlett, seize the opportunity to gain experience working in humanitarian relief is also a great way to boost your resume. Scarlett is halfway through her 12-month contract, having left for Puerto Rico last summer. It is difficult to maintain a long-distance relationship. We've been so close and done everything together since we were 16. These times between her trips home are easily the longest I've gone without her. In more than 10 years, I've missed her so much. As I looked past the other passengers, I noticed the golden hair of a beautiful woman. It's my Scarlett. She is 5S in tall, with long wavy blonde hair and stunning blue eyes. Scarlett also has a stunning body. She's thin and fit, so her huge breast stands out even more. I've been used to guys looking at her. When her breasts first developed in high school, it's simply something I've learned to cope with. Her smile widened when she spotted me waiting for her, and she approached me with arms out, ready to embrace and kiss me again. "Hello, sweetheart," Scarlett replied. "It's great to see you," as we embraced and kissed on the lips. "Hello to you both, gorgeous. You look even better than a month ago. Have you been working on that tan again?" I said. "You look amazing." "Thanks. I attempted to get some sun every day that I could. There isn't much else to do there." "Besides work," Scarlett responded as we approached the luggage. Collecting, we spent the next hour or so catching up on all Scarlett had missed out on during the previous month. Although I'm not much of a gossiper, she didn't have much to say about her job. Other than that, it was business as usual since her last visit home. While Scarlett was in the kitchen contacting her mother, I assisted by carrying her bag upstairs to her bedroom, unzipping and opening it so she could begin unpacking when she was ready. An item of clothes on one side of the suitcase drew my attention. After opening the lid, I took it out to examine it. It's a sheer red teddy, a very seductive little teddy. I've never seen her wear this before. Maybe she bought it to surprise me, as it appears to be brand new. So I put it back where I found it and closed the top of the suitcase. After supper that night, I was looking forward to having sex with Scarlett again. It had only been a month yet. Even that is far too long. I half expected her to come to bed in the sheer red teddy I had seen earlier, but she stepped out of the bathroom wearing only a long t-shirt. Perhaps she is storing it for a special occasion. The sex was wonderful, but not as good as I had hoped. Thinking about it, over the last 4 weeks it was more like having sex every night, and tonight was just one of those nights, not the passionate reunion of two lovers who have missed each other for a month. But she's probably fatigued from her 3 connecting flights back home, and I now have 5 days with her to enjoy ourselves. We spent Christmas Day at my parents' place because Scarlett's folks had moved to Florida a few years ago. On the 3rd day of Scarlett's visit, I still felt like something was missing that spark we normally have. I remembered Thanksgiving, and I'd have to say Scarlett's 2 nights at home were the best. Either I attributed that to her being exhausted from traveling as well. She also told me that she'd been working her buttocks off and that she needed some well-deserved rest while she was here. But what happens now? She doesn't appear tired or worn out, but the spark and zest she had before she went for the summer are just missing. Perhaps I'm just imagining things. Maybe I'm recalling how we used to make love seem better than it was, but I do not think so. As the final day and night approached, I waited for her to pull out the new gorgeous red teddy I'd seen in her suitcase, assuming there was one. It is tonight. Scarlett departs. Scarlett departs in the morning, so today is our final night together until she returns for a weekend at the end of February before spending a week here for Easter. I was dismayed when she entered the bedroom wearing only a huge T-shirt. One of my older ones. I wanted to ask her about the red teddy, but I didn't. I was now more focused on showing her the love she deserved after driving Scarlett to the airport in the morning and saying our goodbyes. I watched as her plane soared into the sky, taking her away from me again. These are the worst days because of the lengthy wait till she returns, and everything starts afresh. But that was all that was bothering me. I'd never felt more alienated from Scarlett than I did during the holidays. It felt as if we were just going through the motions, despite the fact that I had done everything I could to make her vacation memorable. I didn't get the impression that Scarlett was working as hard as I had, and I'm having trouble shaking that notion. Is this your job? Is this me? Has she found that traveling and meeting other people makes her wish she wasn't married? Is she or I getting tired of our marriage, simply perceiving things that are not there? I shook my head on my way back to my pickup. I needed to work on my commute to work. I couldn't help but ponder my thoughts more when Scarlett originally departed for Puerto Rico. Last summer, she called me every day, often twice. We would have sex video chats every few days when she was alone in the apartment she shares with another colleague. However, even those have been discontinued since September, and her daily calls are now only made once a week. I tried calling her more frequently, but each time it went straight to her messages. She subsequently told me that she does not have her phone on when working, which doesn't explain why it does the same. After work hours, she'll call me when she lands back in Puerto Rico. I've only had phone calls for almost 2 months. When I arrived home from work later that day, I noticed Scarlett hadn't phoned me. She should have arrived in Puerto Rico some time ago. I tried calling again, but it went straight to messages. What the hell? She doesn't start working again until tomorrow. I got Scarlett starts working again, changed and went to the gym. We have our own setup in the garage to save money. The workout helps me forget about the stress of the day, to also forget about the nagging anxieties I was having with Scarlett. After showing, I checked my phone, and there was still no call from my wife, so I began preparing dinner, eventually resting in front of the television to eat alone as I'd grown accustomed to doing. By the time I was ready for bed, I decided to make one last call, but I was again sent to her message service. What are you doing, Scarlett? How could you forget to call your own hubby once you've returned from another country? Scarlett finally contacted me at work the next morning, explaining that she had been too busy getting ready for work the day before to call. I still didn't understand why her phone was turned off for the majority of the afternoon and evening. But I let it go. We didn't talk very long. She informed me she was only taking a little break and wanted to go back to work. Scarlett only called me once a week, starting that morning. Every time I tried to call her, it was always on the weekend or a Saturday morning. Aside from that, it would always go through to her messages, and she would make some strange excuse about working late. Even our Saturday morning calls appeared to be a chore for her, as if she was checking in out of obligation. If I had a gnawing sense about Christmas, it was turning into a serious issue. Scarlett's journey home, at the end of February, has come and gone. I was still left with the impression that something was wrong between us, that Scarlett was simply going through the motions when she returned home. When Easter arrived, I attempted to put any worries aside, as we welcomed one other at the airport once more. However, the 5 days my wife was home just added to my anxieties. She appeared disconnected again, almost aloof a majority of the time. If I'm being honest, our lovemaking was really boring. Well, we were still great friends, as we usually are. The romantic and physical aspects of our relationship have been hurting the most on the penultimate day of her travel home. I decided to talk to her about what had been on my mind. Scarlett, has anything been bothering you? We just don't appear to be as close as we once were. I can't express it adequately, but something isn't right. No, nothing is bothering me. I haven't observed any differences between us either. I'm still very pleased to be married to the man I adore. Why do you believe that something is wrong? Scarlett asked. Because we aren't connecting as well as we once did. When you're at home, you appear somewhat detached, like you'd rather be somewhere else. We hardly talk anymore. When you return from overseas, you never return my calls. Your phone is constantly off, even when you aren't working. Should I continue, Ryan? I'm sorry, but the work in Puerto Rico has been far more difficult than I ever thought. The constant hard hours working many shifts and the stress that comes with it. When I'm not working, I spend my free time resting and relaxing by the pool, trying to decompress as much as possible. I apologize if I'm not phoning you all the time. When I chat to you, I feel even more lonely. Besides, where will we talk about it? You always inquire about my work, and I try not to think about it. We don't need to discuss about your work. I'd love to be able to talk to my wife for longer than 30 minutes one day per week. That is all you have been providing me. Again, I apologize. I will call more frequently in the future. Okay, I had no idea you were that worried about it. I nodded at Scarlett. Perhaps I'm reading too much into this. I'm hoping that once her contract expires in June and she returns home permanently, we'll be able to resume our normal lives. I was relieved to have gotten my fears off my chest, and she left on good terms. Despite her pledge to come more regularly, we were soon back to our once-a-week phone calls. Scarlett must have set a reminder on her phone for Saturday at 10:00 a.m. Please call me. It was always that time, exactly when she contacted. As June approached, I was relieved that her contract was coming to an end, that we would be able to resume our lives and maybe be ourselves. Again, I was bored of being alone. I've missed her more than I could have expected. Scarlett was scheduled to fly home. I've missed her on Sunday morning, but I expected her to phone me as normal on Saturday morning, but she never did by 11:01 a.m. I had tried contacting her instead. Once again, it went directly to her messages. She cannot possibly be working on the Saturday before her flight home. She'd even told me that her employment contract expired yesterday. So what's happening? I tried phoning her again on Saturday afternoon and again in the evening, but I always hung up when the call went straight to messaging. I began to feel like the overbearing, controlling parent of a wayward child. I had left her the first message earlier today, asking her to call me. So where the hell has she turned off her phone after not even reading her messages? Scarlett's behavior in maintaining in touch with me has gotten to the point where I can't see any other reason than that she doesn't want to speak with me, or that she's busy doing something else and doesn't want me to interrupt her, perhaps with someone else. That is my actual dread. Scarlett finally texted me early. Sunday morning she apologized again for not responding sooner, and informed me of her flight timings. She would be returning home to Manchester at 3 p.m. So I had the rest of the morning to myself. Before heading to the airport to pick her up, I made certain the house was ready. Then I went for a run before doing some my concern exercise in our improvised gym. I couldn't stop thinking about Scarlett while jogging and working out. My concern is that she's been having an affair while in Puerto Rico. I couldn't think any another reasonable explanation for it, and as an engineer who tries to answer problems logically, it's the only explanation I can think of for Scarlett's behavior. During the past year, it would explain why she began to contact me less and less and appeared significantly more emotionally detached when she was home. It could also explain why her phone has been turned off so frequently while she wasn't supposed to be at work and was with someone else she wouldn't want me to call her because she's been having an affair. Everything would then make sense, but what do I tell her? Her. Do I ask her outright? What am I basing all of this on? My gut emotions and the absence of phone calls? I have never been a petty person. No one enjoys getting into gossip. Instead, I've always depended on data, statistics, and reality. It is just not my place to start accusing her of something I have no evidence for, and what would it mean for my marriage if I did that? She knows I don't trust her, and it would be even worse if she hadn't slept with anyone else at all. No, I'm going to do what I do best. I suppress my feelings. Scarlett's return and emotions, and focus solely on what is in front of me. Scarlett will return home this afternoon, and maybe all of this will be behind us as our lives return to normal. Scarlett's return welcome appeared sincere and friendly. I was pleased she was finally home. We swiftly returned to married life, while I remained optimistic that we would re-establish our bond from before she went for Puerto Rico a year ago. It simply didn't feel the same. I mean, Scarlett is still a terrific person to chat to. She can be humorous, sincere, kind, and loving, all of which you would expect from a best friend, but you need more from your wife. You require the same emotional and sexual connection that a loving couple does, and something is still lacking between us. My wife spent her first week back attending a few job interviews. She truly desired a job at Manchester's largest hospital, Lee Hospital. By the end of the week, she informed me that she had been successful. Being at a larger hospital meant she had more opportunities to advance her profession. I was quite thrilled for her. It also meant no more international contracts with her prior employer, which made me very delighted for her. By the end of August, I felt less concerned about us. Scarlett has been at her new job for about 3 months and appears to be loving it. Will I still feel like we aren't the same as we were before? She left for a year. I've concluded that perhaps this is just how marriages proceed, with the passion fading with time, and perhaps that is what has happened to us, although I'd say it's primarily one-sided, with Scarlett losing part of her love for me rather than vice versa. The past few weeks have been particularly telling. I'm not sure why we felt more like two excellent friends sharing a house than a young married couple in love. No, this is not true. I have my suspicions. It's a Sunday morning in our house in early September. I just cooked us both breakfast and coffee. I have a busy day planned, starting with a friend's house renovation later this morning, followed by a site visit for one of my jobs later in the afternoon. I virtually never work on weekends, but this was unavoidable morning. Ryan, you've already made breakfast. What would I do without you? Scarlett stated as she kissed my cheek before entering the kitchen and sitting down to heat morning honey. I have a big day planned. I hope you don't become bored at home alone all day, I said as I dug into the bacon I've just cooked. I'm sure I can think of something to do. I might even go outside for a while. Are you planning to walk or take an Uber? I replied as I drank my coffee. We only have one vehicle, my Ford pickup, and I need it today. I will figure it out. What time do you expect to be home? Scarlett asked me, Probably at 6 gangs or 7 p.m. Were you going to cook something for supper tonight? If not, I can always pick up something on my way home. I questioned her as I finished off my baking. You better get something, in case I go out for a bit. Scarlett answered, by the way. I have something I've been meaning to tell you. You aren't pregnant, are you? I responded with a smile, which had previously been a running joke between us. Every time she said it, she had something to tell me. No, I cannot believe you are still using that line. What I wanted to inform you is that the Boston Convention Center will host a large Health Sea Care convention in 2 weeks. Doctors Without Borders has requested me to go so that I can speak with other prospective young doctors about the advantages of contracting overseas. You know, sell the dream. You don't work for them anymore. Why would they ask you? I said, as I leaned back on the stool, holding my coffee. They always seek doctors who have finished contracts in other nations for them. You cannot get hurt. I might wish to do contracts with them again in the future. Who knows? I assumed you were glad to be working at Elliott, so you wouldn't have to perform contract work anymore, especially overseas. I responded. I was scared that she would want to travel away again. I'm pleased with my employment. Ryan, look, I'm only doing them a favor. There's nothing more. It's a 2-day conference over the weekend. The booths operate on both Saturday and Sunday. I'll be taking the train. However, Scarlett responded that Peter Hotel Reservation had booked me an overnight stay at a lovely hotel with all meals included, so it would not cost me anything. So are you inviting me along? Is that what it is? I can go sightseeing in Boston while you work the booths? I responded before finishing the last of my coffee. No, they just provided lodging and meals for one. Sorry, but the hotel room can accommodate both of us. We don't even need to tell them I will pay for my own food. I responded, that sounds good, but I don't want to interfere with the reservation. The hotel would want to charge them for 2 bookings, not just one. It's just 2 days and Saturday night. Besides, I'll be working the majority of it. We can go to Boston together another time. Okay? Scarlett answered, Okay. At least I tried. Hey, I need to get moving. Peter expects me there in about 30 minutes. If you go out, please phone me and tell me where you're going. Okay, maybe I can pick you up later. I answered by kissing her cheek before beginning to put on my work boots. I will be all. I may not go out tomorrow yet. I do not know. Bye, sweetheart, Scarlett responded as I exited the kitchen and walked out of the house. I was helping Peter out with some concreting today, among other things. We got the other stuff out of the way. As we waited for the delayed concrete truck, it was already 3 hours later when it reached me. Peter then received word that the contractor was experiencing serious truck troubles and would be cancelling all oats for the day, which freed up the majority of my day. I had planned to arrive to my job site at 4:30 p.m., but I called the customer to ask if he was available earlier. I was relieved that he could meet me there at 1 p.m., so I said my goodbyes to Peter and headed off in my truck to prepare for the customer. What I expected could have taken us up to 2 hours to sort through it took only 20 minutes to climb. He knew exactly what he wanted, so I didn't have to explain any of the possibilities when we were finished. Home checked my phone to see if family had texted me that she was heading out, but I didn't have anything implying she was still at home, so I went home to shower and spent the remainder of Sunday afternoon relaxing with my beautiful wife. Perhaps some sexy time is in order. When I entered the house, I announced to Scarlett that I was home. I began taking off my work boots before getting the carpet muddy. When I didn't get a response, I yelled out again as I walked through the living room and kitchen to the laundry to put my clothing in the washing machine before heading to the bathroom for a shower. I walked into her bedroom, but Scarlett was not there, so I quickly waited in my lawn. Still no Scarlett. I got in the shower. I was slightly annoyed she did not call, to tell me where she was going. As I had asked, I swear sometimes it feels like only one of us is married, but that's okay. As I changed in the bedroom, putting on my boxers and t-shirt, I thought of Scarlet Teddy is sexy and red. I still haven't seen her wear it since I found it in her suitcase when she came home for Christmas and knew she wasn't going to wear it. Why did she buy and bring it from Puerto Rico, and why would she keep it in Puerto Rico? She clearly took it with her when she returned there. This was simply one more thing I couldn't explain about my wife's underwear choice, which was immediately above mine, on our dresser. So I opened it to see if she still had her tiny red teddy. I had to dig a little, but it was almost like it had been hiding at the bottom in the back of the tour when I pulled it out. Something seemed wrong. It appears to have been worn several times in wash, as one of the trimmings around the waist has a minor tear. I also observed that one of the front buttons was missing. It is evident that she has been wearing this. It appeared fresh new the last time I saw it in her bag, but she was wearing it for me, which she had never done before. And how do you wear and destroy a lovely little teddy? Unless you're wearing it while being ducked by someone. There may be another conclusion to draw from this that might explain why she hid it in the rear of her tour. Maybe it isn't meant for me. I put it where I found her, tucking it in the back, like Scarlet had. Where the hell is Scarlet? I asked her to tell me where she was going. If she went out, I grabbed my phone and dialed her number, but it went straight to her messaging service with the dog rather than the sheep. I could only wait for her to arrive home now, so I decided to marinate some steaks for our dinner tonight. After that, I went to the gym again. I needed to get those thoughts about Scarlet being unfaithful out of my head. At 5:30, I heard the front door close as Scarlet entered and went directly to the bathroom to shower. Without calling out to me or seeing anything, she must be aware that I am home. My pickup is parked. I tried out front again. Strange behavior. Unless she is hiding something. When I heard the water cut off, I walked into her bedroom to say hello and to watch her get ready. After all, she's still the most attractive lady I've ever known. She came out in a bathrobe and refused to change in front of me. Instead, she sat down at the end of the bed and began styling her hair. So why didn't you text me and inform me where you were going? Just like I asked, what are you? My parents doing now? I apologize for caring about my wife. Perhaps I should care less a little more like you. I replied, I was simply out with some friends. Okay, I didn't think you needed to know my exact location at all times, but why was your phone turned off? You cannot use the argument that you were working throughout this period. It was not off. I must have said that to silent by mistake. What is this all about, Ryan? I shake my head. The only thing I could respond to, that is that I believe she has been cheating on me, but I have no proof for that charge at all, so I didn't say anything. Anything. Did you bring anything home for dinner? Ryan? Nope. I have some steaks marinating right now. I'm going to BU them in a minute if you're interested. You could help with the salad. Sure, but you should go clean the barbecue first. You are now free to leave. Scarlet responded, attempting to force me out of the bedroom. What, and here's the nicest view of the day. My gorgeous wet naked wife, I responded with a cheeky grin. You've seen this 1,000 times before. Go on, go clean. The BBQ Scarlet insisted all right. But I need to use the bathroom first, I answered as I entered her, and sweet bathroom, hold on. I just need to get my dirty clothing and put them in the laundry. Scarlet swiftly responded, grabbing her recently worn garments, however, as I stood there taking a piss. I was wondering why Scarlet was concerned about me seeing her naked just now, or why she was leaving me alone with the clothes she had just worn. What is she hiding? After using the restroom, I made laundry made my way to the laundry area to retrieve the portable BQ that we had placed there, I realized the washing machine was already starting with only 2 items we'd both been wearing today. It's barely enough to make a load. It's almost as if she's attempting to wash away any evidence that her garments may have. Perhaps I'm just becoming paranoid and envisioning all of this over the next 2 weeks. Our relationship remained almost unchanged. It was going along, but that was all I could say about it, as much as I wanted to. I couldn't get the idea that Scarlett was hiding something, that her emotional and sexual desire to me had decreased since she left for Puerto Rico. 15 months ago, I hoped things would be fine once her contract expired, but it's been over 4 months, and we still haven't returned to normal. Now I'm going to be concerned about her going to Boston on her own tomorrow and spending the weekend there. Will she be with someone else? Am I being played here tonight? Is Friday night. And I decided I would give her the greatest stocking I could to remind her of me while she's away for the weekend. But that wasn't to be. She took my time of the month, just as I was getting started, and I didn't even get to duck hurdle. I swear her period ended barely 2 weeks ago, but how can I see the bloodied pads to verify it to myself? I would never do that. She is fully aware of this on Saturday morning. I dropped her off at the train station. Before returning home, I was completely free this weekend, with no plans whatsoever. I walked into her room and sat on the edge of the bed, unsure what to do with myself. I will work out later and go for a run. So what about the remainder of the day? I looked over and noticed Scarlett hadn't properly locked her underwear drawer since packing her overnight clothing earlier this morning. I stood up to close it, but I found myself drawn back to her seductive red teddy, almost as if it represented my anxieties about my wife. It's something I just can't explain. I dug through her underwear to the back and bottom of the drawer, but couldn't find it. I continued looking. Where is it? I took the drawer all the way out and set it on the bed, combing through all of her clothes to ensure I hadn't missed anything. Nope. It was absolutely not present. Did she carry it with her? Why would she do that? She had only one reason to do so. I didn't want to admit it to myself. Despite knowing the answer, I put it on her back before examining her other clothes chores and the clothing hamper in the bathroom not present. I examined the washing machine in the laundry empty. I even checked her rubbish to ensure she hadn't thrown it away, but no luck either. Chuck, she must have carried it. The affair with her, it's as if all of my previous assumptions had suddenly come to light. I can't make excuses or reject what I now believe is obvious. My wife must be having an affair. I'm not sure who she was working with, but it must have started with someone from Doctors Without Board, ERS, in Puerto Rico, of course. My wife will be in Boston with other members of that NGO's personnel this weekend. I bet whoever she had an affair with will also be there. Is she going to wear her seductive red teddy for him tonight, assuming he is? But what about now that she's home? It does not explain her continued good behavior, particularly during the previous month. My head was throbbing from a combination of perplexity and wrath. Would Scarlett actually do this to me? To us? We have everything being high school sweethearts. They dated throughout college, before marrying and living together, until her contract in Puerto Rico. Everything had been great between us. Why would she risk creating what we have? We've been best friends and lovers for 10 years. But lately we seem to be nothing more than housemates. I do not know the solution. All I know is that my pragmatic side, the logical fact-based part of me, need confirmation. I needed to be slapped in the face with her adultery before I could accept it or confront her. I put on some trousers, shoes, a decent polo shirt and a jacket before grabbing my keys and walking out the door. I'm heading to Boston. I'm going to a conference to see for myself what's going on. As I entered the big convention hall, I took one of the booklets, which also included a floor plan of all the merchants I discovered the Doctor Without Borders exhibit, and went there. I am not naive enough to walk up to Scarlett's stand, expect to see anything suspicious. No, I'd stand back and observe her from a distance, keeping an eye on who she was with and how they behaved. As a health representative from a medical equipment company approached me about their products, I could see Scarlett in the distance. She was speaking with another woman at the back of the booth, while two men, apparently staff workers, spoke with the people as they passed after 20 minutes. I ran out of questions for the guy who was speaking with me, so I walked onto another booth where I could continue to watch my wife. For the next 2 hours, I continued to observe her. The two guys had departed much earlier, leaving Scarlett and her female co-worker to take over. I observed nothing unusual. Scarlett was talking to individuals as they passed by the booth. She might occasionally spend more time with someone who expressed genuine interest in the NGO. I was becoming bored, so I went inside to one of the restaurants and had lunch. As I circled back to check on Scarlett, she was no longer present. Instead, the two male staff members returned to work the booth. I strolled about looking for my wife and thinking about the food hall where I had just eaten. It could be the best opportunity to find her. Perhaps she was there to get lunch, like I just spun the third food joint I passed. I saw her sitting with the same female employees she had been working with all morning. I hurriedly turned to walk away. I was sitting at a food stall some distance away from where I could still see her. As I sit here, I reflect on what I'm doing and how it makes feel like a sheep right now. Am I really happy spying on my wife like this, following her around and observing her like an amateur detective? I should do better than this. Scarlett deserves more than this. What the am I doing here? I stood up and strolled away, leaving the conference center to sit out front and collect my thoughts. What am I expecting to learn by being here? That she is with her lover in the middle of a conference where she works? No, she is going to be with him. It will be tonight when she finishes working. That they will be able to be alone together without being seen by others, but I'm not even sure whose hotel she's staying at, let alone which room number. What exactly would I do if I knew sitting in the hotel lobby to catch her strolling past? This entire trip seems futile. I'm probably never going to figure out what's going on with Scarlett. This is simply ludicrous. I got up. I was going to proceed to the parking garage where my truck is located, but instead I went back inside to check on Scarlett one last time. It's as if I couldn't let go that easily. I discovered her hanging out behind the booth she was talking to. The other woman again. The two guys were still there. I wondered whether one of the guys was the one she was perhaps having an affair with. I paid great attention to how she behaved with them both when I was a bigger guy, that is fatter, and my tone hardened. The second man is little older, tall and slender, and plainly growing bald again. I don't see my wife interested in him at all when she spoke with both of them. Everything seemed typical in terms of how individuals who work together connect. Maybe I am simply being paranoid. Maybe there is nothing going on, and I'm simply imagining things because their sex life isn't as fantastic as it once was. And I want to blame it on anything or someone else. It's just gone 300 p.m. The convention booth will now close the bar at 5. I assumed I'd wait till Scarlett finished work to see where she went and who she went with. Meanwhile, I needed a beer, so I went to the enormous bar I had spotted near the food court earlier. It was already very busy. All of the regular tables were occupied, so I grabbed a bar stool from the end of the bar. There were 3 people standing near me chatting shop. They had clearly been working at one of the booths today. Without it, it was difficult for me to enjoy my beverage as they continued to talk. They eventually left as I ordered a second light beer. I'm driving after all, and I don't intend to stay here overnight after about 20 minutes. Another two males took up seats at the bar next another two guys to me. That's when I realized it was the same two people Scarlett had been working with today. My initial concern was that Scarlett would join them in a moment and find me seated here. Then I figured Scarlett and the other women were probably working the booth till 5 p.m. Now they appear to be switching shifts with the two guys drinking beer. Next to me, they began talking about work and then about someone they had previously worked with. A man they both knew. As their talk lasted around 20 minutes, I found myself dozing off. The time is approaching 400 p.m. Now, as I took another swallow of my beer, I thought if I should just go after finishing it. Scarlett appeared to be here doing exactly what she claimed she was doing, and I feel like, and for questioning her, I'd never been jealous or suspicious of Scarlett until she left to Puerto Rico, so why am I acting like that now? Now a beautiful red teddy came to mind. Another example was Scarlett's habit of shutting off her phone while she was not at work. Additionally, her sex life and closeness have suffered, but is this enough to suspect her of cheating on me, really? As I finished my beer and was about to stand up and leave, the guy next to me mentioned Scarlett to the other. "Did you meet Scarlett Walker before today, the attractive blonde in the booth? Have you spent any time in Puerto Rico since Christmas?" The somewhat larger guy asks the other. "No, I have never gone to Puerto Rico. I was most recently working in Guatemala, and before in Honduras. I've never met her till today. Nonetheless, she's quite lovely. Her husband is a very lucky man," said the older man. Speaking about the new guy, I felt relatively decent about myself. "Yes, I am a very fortunate man. I'm not sure if your hubby is so lucky. I was in Puerto Rico with her until last Christmas. Have you ever worked with Ryan Knight before? He is one of our more senior doctors. Having worked with us for several years, he was a team leader in Puerto Rico. He and Scarlett spent a lot of time together." The bigger guy, the Duke Dr. Reinhardt, replied, chuckling slightly. What I almost turned to ask the person what he meant, but then remembered that I didn't know these men. With the Duke Dr. Reinhardt, they're talking about my wife here. Yes, I know him. I worked with him in Honduras last year. He appeared like a kind man, happily married with children. Did he actually have a fling with Scarlett? Not a fling, I call it a scorching romance. They couldn't get enough of each other. Soon after she started working for us last summer, she arrived looking beautiful and innocent, like a flower waiting to be plucked. She wanted to impress Ryan too, and I don't think he could resist. They'd speak like sex-crazed bunnies. While working from the start, you could hear them all day and night in the dorm-style apartments we were all sharing. He even switched out her roommate and moved in himself, something that is not supposed to happen when married people of different sexes live together. Like that. He only got away with it because he was the boss. The bigger person said, "I was dumbfounded all this time. I wondered whether something was going on. And now this guy just lets it all out for me. I could not believe it. I felt numb." Wow, okay. Ryan did as well. Will it finally come to an end? Is he back home in Chicago with his wife and children? I spoke with Scarlett right before I asked her. She has maintained in touch with Ryan? Or not? I mean, they were clearly a relationship back then. They had lived together for some time. They were inseparable. It's not like the two of them were hiding anything. But here's the interesting part. She told me that he is currently working with her at Elliott Hospital in Manchester. He started there only a month ago. According to her, I believe she also helped him acquire the position there. But she wouldn't say that. Hold on, has he gotten divorced? Did he abandon his wife and children firmly? The elder Bolton gist, that's what I asked her. Well, if he is now divorced, she said no, he's been working with her for a long whatever. That means Ryan has most likely informed his wife that he is leaving for an abroad assignment. Meanwhile, he's banging the hell out of New Hampshire's hottest young doctors. He must have a lot of balls to lie to his wife, so he may see Scarlett to do this with the wife and children at home. Seriously, that is a little tucked up, the building. Thinner, Guy responded, and I had to concur with his point of view. It's tucked up. Scarlett has also stockpiled marriage-related items, you say, but you have not seen Scarlett sunning herself topless on the beach or by the pool in Puerto Rico. If you've seen her body in those tits, my God, you may have second thoughts. The photographer responded, no, I couldn't live with myself. If I did that to my family, no matter how attractive she is, it's simply not worth it. And she is also married, so she is now working and most likely sleeping with Ryan again. And then what she returns home to her spouse afterward, the older, slimmer guy, replied, yeah, I understand it's not fun to be him. Don't discuss any of this when she arrives after 5. It's truly none of our business. If she wants to hide outside of her marriage, I bet Ryan will be here shortly as well. He couldn't possibly pass up the chance to spend the night with her. I'm sure he'll continue beating on her until the early morning hours. The bigger guy responded, well, it'll be nice to catch up with Ryan again. Though I don't think I'll have as much for him now. He's not doing a good thing. I would never consider doing it to my wife or children, the building worker responded. Come on. Not even for someone as attractive as Scarlett, man. I'd give anything. Not to spend just one night with her. The bigger responded, chuckling aloud. But you are single. You don't have a wife or children at home. There's more to life than sex, even if she's 10 out of 10 like Scarlett. The building worker responded. Okay, fair enough. Just remember, mum's the word when Scarlett Ryan arrives. Okay, sure, I was still trying to pick my jaw up off the floor after hearing them talk about my unfaithful wife and her lover. Like that, I still felt as if I had been taken advantage of. Everything was plain to me now. Everything made sense. Even her recent actions were explained. She's been ducking this lovely guy again the other Saturday. I bet she spent the entire day talking to him when she was out. That's why she never answered the phone and wanted to shower as soon as she got home and wash her soul clothing. She also didn't want me to see her naked because she presumably still had marks from their duck session less than an hour before my rage had reached its peak. I wanted to grab the fatter man and ask him what else he knew, but instead I did my best as I stood up to leave the bar. I swear someone brushed into me on the way out. I probably would have slipped, and I went back to sit in front of the conference center. It's now past 4:30 p.m. Do I want to wait around to watch her with him, to find out who these gorgeous gentlemen are? No, to me, it doesn't really matter who he is. Scarlett is the person I am most upset at. I don't care if he is cheating on his wife. I honestly don't care. I'm solely concerned that Scarlett is cheating on me. Scarlett's I don't care, lies and deception, more than her betrayal, irritate me the most, as she fell in love with this man just after arriving in Puerto Rico. Why didn't she break up with me? Then she should have had the courage to do it the next time she went home, instead of pretending that we could still have sex after that when she clearly no longer loved me. Why now help this guy find a job in our hometown where everyone knows who we are? She is continuing her fair right under my nose. It shows a complete lack of regard for me, as if she were rubbing it in my face. That's what I don't get. Why would she do that? I gave her everything I could. We have been great friends and lovers since high school. I've never kissed or had sex with a girl other than Scarlett, and now she's flaunting her infidelity as if she doesn't care about me at all. How did we come to this point? Only one thing remains here. Do I have to witness her? With him, with my own 2 eyes, to exclude any doubt? Perhaps seeing her with another person, with whom she is romantically and sexually connected, serves as closure for me. It will finally convince me that our marriage is over. I attempted to gather myself. It was hard. I still had ideas, anger, frustrations and questions swirling around in my head. The essential question was why? Why Scarlett? Why would you want to cheat on me? It is after 500 p.m. Now, so I got up and went back inside. As most people were leaving, I don't want to confront her yet. I really want to see her with him for myself. To get closure, I walked towards the pub, stopping to sit at a nearby cafe. From where I am, I can see the end of the bar where I was previously. The two men are still present, along with Scarlett, and the woman. There was now a third man, a tall man with well-combed brown hair who appeared to be in good form and dressed appropriately. He stood near Scarlett. Now he wraps his arm around her waist while they talk with the others. This must be correct. This is the person. My wife has been cheating on me with seeing my wife standing with another man. His arm around her, claiming her as his own. It's difficult to take until tonight. I thought Scarlett only loved me, even with the moment. My misgivings, I hoped and prayed that I was mistaken. It's difficult to describe this moment, see her with him, using my own eyes. She has broken my heart and any faith I have in other individuals. In one fell swoop. What should I do? Now, should I walk in there and face her? Do I slam this guy in the face and urge my wife to stay away? I want to walk in there and let my rage out. But no, I don't need assault charges added to the suffering. She's already causing me. My logical side warns me not to make any foolish judgments while emotionally distressed, and that I should go home and calm down. First, I have proof. Now I received what I came here for. I took out my phone and turned on the video. As I zoomed in, Scarlett turned to face Ryan as if on cue and kissed him on the lips. It was only a fleeting kiss, but it was evident how much he cared for her. I hit stop and returned to my car. It felt uncomfortable entering her home. We've been sharing this one for several years, so I've been lonely here, while Scarlett was in Puerto Rico. Our home now felt different. It was now merely a remembrance of what should have been, but what now isn't. It was going to be difficult resting here tonight, knowing that my wife was getting ducks in a hotel room by her boyfriend in Boston. Will I lie here alone again? My only real question was why Scarlett? I decided to go back out to a PB or something, have some food, and maybe hang out with my pals. Over a few beers, I simply didn't want to be alone. I didn't arrive home until 2 a.m., and I slept soundly, despite having consumed far too much alcohol. The night before, the hangover in the morning seemed to exacerbate my negative feelings about my marriage. I needed to clear my mind and decide what I was going to do before Scarlett arrived home later this evening. One thing was certain: our marriage will not continue as before. I was not going to pretend I didn't know or accept this. No, this is absolutely the end. But what happens now? Do I pack my belongings and move out? No, Doug. She is the one cheating. She can go live with her boyfriend. He must be renting a place in town. He's even collaborating with her. Now, how do you do this? Lie so openly to your wife about where you are. Is she even aware that she lives in New Hampshire working here? That's when I recognized what I needed to do. I opened my laptop and went to the doctor's Without Bore website to see if they had any information for him. They did not publicly anyhow. So I searched major job sites for Ray Knight, Dr. Chicago. I got ahead when I looked at his profile. It detailed his recent efforts as a team leader for Doctors Without Borders in Honduras and Puerto Rico. I went to his contact information, which indicated that he lived in Chicago, and supplied an email address as well as his cell and home phone numbers. Bingo. I made myself a coffee and sat in the backyard to drink it. Do I truly want to go through with it? I am currently grieving over the demise of my own marriage, which you contributed to. But his wife and children are not to blame. Do I want to wreck their lives too? No. But his wife ought to know. She should know the truth. Furthermore, he does not get to ruin my life and stroll off into the sunset with both my wife and his. I got up and headed back inside. I contacted the home phone number mentioned on the employment website. "Hello, Melissa speaks, Melissa Knight?" "I, Melissa speaks," responded. "Yes, it is correct." "Hello, Melissa. This is Kevin from Doctors Without Boundaries. Could I speak with your spouse, Ryan, about an opportunity we have for him?" I responded. "I apologize. He already works for you. He is in Costa Rica right now." "That cannot be correct. I don't have that in our database." "I have it. His most recent contract was with Puerto Rico earlier this year. Is this correct?" I continued. "Yes, it is correct. However, around a month ago, he left on a new contract to Costa Rica. Perhaps you should contact someone there to confirm things, or you could call my husband's phone number. However, reception is quite poor down there. Make calls, almost never get it through." Melissa replied, "Is it? We've never experienced problems with cell service in Central America before. Besides, I don't think we have any placements in Costa Rica. They have an excellent healthcare system. There, could you do me a favor? Could you please check your husband's flights to Costa Rica? And if you could provide me the flight number, we pay for all of the trips, so I'll be able to find them in our database and get this all resolved quickly." I replied, "Yes, sure. Please give me a moment. I'm not using my laptop right now." Ryan's wife responded. She took a minute or two to go onto her laptop and check their emails before responding to me. "This cannot be correct. I can't discover any email addresses for his flights. Give me a moment. I will verify the flight booking sites that we use." Melissa continued, "Thank you, Melissa. This will make it much easier for me to complete everything in our database." I said as she worked away on her laptop. "Okay, here it is. That is unusual. His flight was one way from Chicago to Boston. For his trips to Central America, he usually flies to Texas and then connects to the destination country. I'm not sure why he flies to Boston, and there don't appear to be any other flights mentioned after that." Melissa replied, "Really, we never book flights. The flight number through Boston, unless our contractors live in the Northeast, using the flight number you have there. Maybe I'll check on my end to see what occurred." I continued. Melissa then read aloud the flight number. I pretended to enter it someplace. She spoke. "I have nothing in our database. He never contacted us about that flight. Are you certain he's working on a contract for us? There is no, the corporations are non-governmental organizations, NOS, which he may be working for." I asked his wife. "No, he informed me that the contract is with Doctors Without Borders in Costa Rica for 6 months. I am 100% certain about that." She replied, "Well, I'm not sure what else to tell you, besides that he is not now working for us, and we have not lately paid for any of his flights, accommodations, or salary. Maybe if you check your bank statements, you'll find specifics about another flight he paid for. You might be able to determine who has been paying his wages. I know this sounds crazy, but I don't have anything here for him right now. That's why I called to offer him work." I replied, "Hold on, then give me a moment." Melissa responded with passion. I could hear her type away. If nothing else, she'd be wary of her spouse now. She'd like to know the truth. This cannot be correct. What the hell is going on? Melissa spoke openly, but it was evident she wasn't speaking to me. She hasn't made any withdrawals from her bank account in the past month. How the heck is he paying for anything? Melissa spoke aloud. Once again. Perhaps he received a cash advance before leaving. Perhaps she has another bank account, I replied. We just have one joint account, and there are no cash advances here. Why would he create another account? That is something I cannot answer. Have there been any recent deposits into your shirt account? Surely he's getting paid while he's abroad, working somewhere? I asked her. Yes, there have been 3 deposits thus far, the same amount every week. All of these are bank transfers from another bank. It appears to be in the details. It states that it is from a bank in Manchester, New Hampshire. Why would you send funds to her account from a bank in New Hampshire? Hugan exclaimed, "This makes absolutely no sense. That's about an hour's journey from Boston. I suppose it explains the one-way flight to Boston. Then I am presuming that's weird." I said, begging her to bite. "What's strange?" Melissa responded, accepting the bait. "Well, we only have one other doctor in our database that is from Manchester, New Hampshire. I placed her on her last contract. It was in Puerto Rico, and you had worked for your husband for a year until June. What would you do in Manchester with her? Is he working alongside her every day? I'm wondering, that makes a lot of sense. If you're already receiving transfers for his income from a bank there," I replied, even though I pleaded with Comey the connotation was apparent for his wife. "That is impossible. What would you be doing in New Hampshire with a woman who has previously worked for him? Why wouldn't you tell me that? Where would you not inform me about the flights and bank accounts? My God." Melissa's voice drifted off, and there it was. She had now grasped the consequences of this. She has just learned her husband is cheating on her, lying to her. Who is she? This woman resides in Manchester. What is her name? Melissa nearly demanded. "I am unable to disclose personal information on our former employees." "I'm so sorry," I reacted as though I meant it, "but she is a doctor." "Correct," Melissa continued. "Well, I only placed contracts with doctors. That is what I do," I respond. "Manchester may be that large. Surely there cannot be so many hospitals there. He must be working at one of them." Melissa replied, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Knight, I am not following." I continued my charade to worry. "I will find out where he works and what he has been up to. Is there something else? I don't think my spouse will desire a job with you right now." Melissa replied, "Okay, I apologize for the misunderstanding I've caused." I said, "I hope you get to the bottom of it." "Do not worry, I will," Melissa stated firmly before terminating the conversation. It couldn't have gone any better, but why did I still feel like a piece of trash after doing it? I can't appreciate reading about her life. Even if her husband is the real reason, I'm merely helping her discover the truth. With everything out of the way, I needed to decide what to do with Scarlett. I opted not to move out. That's what Scarlett must do. I walked into the garage, grabbed 2 of our luggage, brought them into the bedroom, and began packing her clothes. They were full before I finished, so I took our last suitcase from the laundry and packed the rest of her clothes and everything from the bathroom. With that out of the way, I moved all 3 suitcases to just inside the front entrance, leaving them empty for Scarlett's arrival. Later tonight, after finishing the test, I headed to the gym before going for a run. As I sit here eating my lunch, I'm trying to figure out what I'll say to her and what she might say in return. I am resolved not to lose my temper. I do not want her to see how much pain I am in right now. No, I will muster the fortitude to do what she should have done. A year ago, I landed once, and for all, I watched some sports on television. To pass the time, it's almost 6 p.m. It won't be long before Scarlett calls me to come pick her up from the train station that reminded me at 7:30 p.m. I grabbed my phone and turned it off to finish the game. I hear a car stop in front, and the door closed briefly, followed by the front door opening and closing. As Scarlett walks into the living room where I'm sitting, I notice her pause and sigh. "Ryan, why is your phone off? You were supposed to come and pick me up. I had to take an Uber home." "And what's with all of our suitcases at the front door?" Scarlett asked as she flopped down on the couch next to me. "I'm so exhausted. It's been an extremely busy and exhausting weekend. I feel like I need a few days off to recover." Scarlett continued after I had not said anything yet. "These suitcases are for you. They are full of all of your clothes and belongings. I understand why you're so tired after last night. I know you spent last night with... I know all about it." I replied calmly, "Ryan, what are you talking about? You're not making any sense," Scarlett replied with a twinge of concern in her voice. "You can stop lying now, Scarlett. It's over. You should have had the courage to end our marriage a year ago after you started cheating in on me. From that point on, we've been going through the motions. I did not comprehend, but now I do." I remained calm as I replied to her, "What are you talking about cheating? What are you saying, Ryan?" "I love you," Scarlett replied, the pitch in her voice getting higher. I think she's starting to understand that it's all unraveling now. "Yes, right. You haven't loved me since start to rain night. Started ducking the hell out of you every day and night while you were in Puerto Rico. Like I said, I know all about it." Scarlett was silent. Her eyes started to tear up as she eventually jumped up and ran into the bedroom, locking the door behind her. I'm annoyed. She doesn't even have the courage to admit it. Now that she's been caught. Maybe she's been lying for so long now that it's hard for her to admit what she's been doing. I sit on the couch watching TV. I'm not going to talk with her. Knocking on our bedroom door and asking her to come out. Doc, that she can come to me. This is all on her. She needs to own it. It's been an hour since Scarlett ran off into her bedroom. I decided I needed to eat. So I went into the kitchen to whip up something. As I sit at the kitchen bench eating my heated-up leftovers stir-fry noodles, I can hear a bedroom door open, followed by Reday and still teary. Scarlett, she walks into the kitchen and takes up a stool on the opposite side of our bench. "Ryan, can we talk?" "I need to say a few things," Scarlett said softly. "Sure, go ahead, let's hear it," I replied, while leading my noodles. "First off, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. Not in a million years. I never meant for any of this to happen. I really didn't." Scarlett offered sincerely, yet once it happened, you kept doing it again and again and again. I called me, responded, "I understand. I feel terrible about it. I bet you didn't. I bet you loved ducking him. That's why you kept doing it. You need to stop lying to me. Just be honest for once," I responded. Scarlett looked away from me, breaking eye contact. She then closed her eyes and sat silently for a number of seconds before looking back at me to speak. "You're right, Ryan. I do love having sex with him. I can't get enough. It's like I've been addicted to every time I came home to you. All I could think about was getting back there with him, to be with him again. I hate that I feel that way. I hate what I've done to you." Scarlett admitted, "So I'll ask again. Why didn't you just end our marriage back then? Once this has started, why lie to me pretending that we're happily married? All you wanted to do was to duck some other guy. Because I didn't want our marriage to be over. I've loved you since we were just teenagers. I can't imagine my life without you. I still can't, so I kept telling myself I could end it with you, that I'm just getting it out of my system, that I'm just having some fun, and that I don't love him like I love you. I kept myself. It would soon be over, and we'd go back to being happily married again. And yet, he now lives and works here too, and you've been dack him again. That's hardly wanting it to be over, to be happily married to me. Hell, you even spent all of last night with him, after I asked you if you wanted me to go with you over the weekend for us to enjoy the hotel room together. You straight up lied to me. You were planning on being with him the entire time. None of this is by accident. You've lied and schemed for well over a year now. I apologize. It's true. I only went to Boston so we could be together. It's been hard trying to find time for us to be alone. Well, I'm sorry if me being around has made it hard for you to duck someone else. Scarlett, you did find some time 2 weeks ago while I was out, didn't you? That's why you didn't want me to see you naked that day. When you got home, you just finished getting stuck by him, right before coming home to me. I added, yes, I'm so sorry, Ryan. I really am. It's a bit late for that. Don't you think You just come home from arranging a weekend away with another guy, and all you got to say is that you're sorry. Sorry for doing it, or sorry that you've been caught. I know nothing I say is probably going to make this any better for what I've done. I do love you, though. Ryan, more than anything, more than anything. You're joking, right? You've been ducking another guy for well over a year now, not wanting to have sex with me while giving him everything. And yet you sit here with a straight face and say that you love me more than anything. Do you know how full of that sounds? I understand, and I know you're hurting right now, and that it's all because of me. I know you don't want to believe me right now, but I do love you, Ryan. Honestly, I do. My actions have ensured that I understand. It doesn't matter somewhere deep in that twisted thing. You call it heart, you convince yourself that you still love me, you're just lying to yourself. At this point, there's no love between us. You took care of that shortly after going to Puerto Rico. All the lies, the deceit, the betrayal, the pretending. When you got home, I now know why your phone always went straight to messages when you were working. It's because you were busy getting to Doug him, wasn't it? You didn't even care enough to call me back or to want to speak with me afterwards. You only wanted him well. Now you get to have him as much as you want. I couldn't call you. I was so full of guilt. I just couldn't do it. I knew what I was doing was wrong, that I was hurting you, but I can't explain it. I couldn't stop. I didn't want to. Well, you should be happy. Now you get to talk, Magic Man Ryan. Whenever you want, you're now free to do whatever you want. I even packed your suitcases for you. See, I'm a good husband right to the very end. Ryan, that's not what I want. I want you. I always have, and I always will. You're the only man I ever love. I swear. Scarlett almost pleaded this time. Like I said before, it's way too late for that. If you honestly think I'd ever want to be with you, after what you've done, you must have way less respect for me than the very little you've already shown. Do you think you can just say, sorry, and if you love me, and somehow that will make it all better with the dog, Scarlett? You've toured my heart out and trampled on it now. You want to sit here and rub it in for good measure. Just take your suitcases and duck off. Our marriage is over. We're finished. I hate you so much right now, I replied, finally getting emotional, even though I tried my best not to. Scarlett's tears started to flow again as she got up and walked back towards our bedroom. I finished my noodles and opened the beer. I deserve one. All that I walked back into her living room and sat down to continue watching the game on TV. I'm not sure what Scarlett's doing in the bedroom. None of her stuff is in there any longer. She's probably crying, feeling sorry for herself, that the perfect little world she built for herself has finally come crashing down. 30 minutes later, Scarlett emerged from her bedroom, stopping in the living room to speak with me one last time. Ryan, I know you hate me right now. I deserve it, and you won't believe anything I say, but I need to say this anyway. From the moment we first started dating and high school, I knew you were the man of my dreams, the man I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. Everything about you was so perfect, and I loved you more than I ever thought possible. Even in college, while everyone else was having fun and sleeping around, it never crossed my mind that I'd want to be with anyone but you, and I knew you felt the same way too. Then when you asked me to marry you, and we moved in together, I thought my life couldn't get any better. Honestly, I was so happy everything I ever wanted had come true. I can't explain why I first slept with Ryan when I was away. I could blame it on being alone. I'm missing you on whatever I want to blame it on. But I knew what I was doing, and I wanted it to happen. I knew what the consequences of that choice would be, but I've tried my best to bury that ever since, to convince myself that I'd never have to face up to it. I know that was stupid, but I was so afraid of losing you, of not having you in my life or by my side. I think I'd become too complacent about a relationship, that you'd always be there for me, That's the only possible reason I can think of for why I let this happen. I know I've ended our marriage with this. Deep down, I always knew this is what would happen if I could take it all back and never go to Puerto Rico to begin with. I would, but that's just fantasy. I'm so sorry for hurting you. If you believe, I'll be one thing. I've said, please believe, that hurting you is the last thing I ever wanted. I hope that one day you can forgive me. I hope that you can move on with your life and be happy again. Goodbye, Ryan. With that, Scarlett turned and walked out to the front door, taking the handles of her suitcases and dragging them outside, where I could hear a car waiting for her. She didn't say where she was going, if she was going to stay with him or not, and I didn't care. I feel her little speech has meant more for her than for me, that in some way she's trying to justify what she did in her own mind, so that she can go on living with herself after what she did, that she wants to leave with memory of what we used to be, not what we became, and to leave me with kind words, not angry ones, but I truly believe that actions speak louder than words, and her actions have already said more than enough to say that the next few weeks were difficult. For me, would be a gross understatement. I was even finding it hard to concentrate at work. It was almost impossible for me to not think about Scarlett and what she did to me. After a few weeks, I finally contacted a divorce lawyer and started the process. I figured it was better to get it over with than to drag this out. The other issue is the house we shared. Although we were only renting, we've been living here together for a number of years now. It reminds me of her. Everything reminds me of her. Our lease expiring in 2 months' time, and I decided to move out, to start over again. By the time I moved into my new apartment, I was hoping that this would be a new beginning, to start moving on from memory, to finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. My lawyer contacted me. The divorce papers were ready to be served, and I was asked for Scarlett's address, for which I had no idea. I advised him where she works. He should be able to find her at the hospital. I got a call later that day from my lawyer. He told me there's been complications. It turns out that Scarlett no longer works at the hospital. She was fired after Dr. Ryan Knight's wife, Melissa, lodged divorce proceedings against her husband. He was served at the hospital, and Dr. Scarlett Walker was named in the court filings along with their place of employment. The hospital administrator fired both Scarlett and Ryan Scarlett for referring Ryan to them without notifying them of her personal relationship, and Ryan for not disclosing his relationship with Scarlett either. Basically, the hospital washed their hands of both of them. So where is she? How do I get my lawyer to serve her the divorce papers? I gave them her parents' address and contact details in Florida. Maybe he could contact them to find out. Then there's also Melissa Ryan's wife. Maybe she knows where her husband is living. And if he's now living with Scarlett, I call her home. Phone number this time. I wasn't going to her hello. Melissa speaks. Hello, Melissa. You don't know me, but we've spoken before. The last time we talked, I told you my name was Kevin from Doctors Without Boundaries. Yes, I remember. And thank you. I guess I might never have known what was going on with my husband. Otherwise, you are welcome. My real name is Ryan Walker. I've been married to Dr. Scarlett Walker, the woman that's been having an affair with your husband. Yes, I know who she is. Are you two still married? Well, that's why I'm calling you. I was hoping you could help me this time. I asked her. I'll help if I can. Melissa replied. Both Scarlett and Ryan were fired by Eli Hospital due to filing for divorce and naming them as their employers. They fired them for not disclosing their personal relationship. Apparently, yes, I know I spoke with the hospital ad administrator I pretty much demanded that she should take action, where I dragged them through the mud too for allowing married staff to hire their lovers. With the hospital's blessing, she didn't want any part of it. Melissa replied, "Well done, Melissa. The reason I'm calling is that my lawyer is trying to serve Scarlett with our divorce papers, but I don't know where she's living or where she works now that she's been fired. I was wondering if you knew where Ryan is living. The family is perhaps living with him. I know where Ryan is. He's living back here in Chicago, staying in an apartment, not far from her house. He wants to be close to his kids. I'm not sure why, though he's spent most of their lives so far living and working overseas, and I don't think he'll hang around for too long. I don't know if he's dragged Scarlett here with him. I'm not sure. Melissa told me, can I get his address number from you? Maybe my lawyer can contact him and find out if my ex-wife is living with him. I answered, it's hard, isn't it? To stop thinking of her as your wife. It's the same for me. Be strong, though, Ryan. We'll both get through it. In the end, I'll text you his details after a call. Thank you, Melissa. I hope you're doing okay, too. I can't imagine how hard this would be. And I had kids as well. It must be tough on them, too. They're actually not doing too badly. I think that's because their father has barely been in their lives so far. There's not much difference now to what they're already used to. That's about the only silver lining. Yeah. Well, I hope you're screwing him for every dime. He's got, I added. Yeah, my divorce lawyer. She's an absolute witch, and I love her. She's really expensive too, so I'm lucky that Rain's paying for her. With all that contracting money he's made, I'm getting the kids, the house, the car, and 50% of his wages for at least the next 12 years. Until our kids turn 18, he deserves everything that's coming to him. Yeah, no doubt. Scarlett and I don't have much to fight over. We were just starting out and don't have any kids or house. It should be pretty straightforward for us. Well, it's better to be starting over when you don't already have kids together. I don't know what I'm going to do. Who wants to be with a 30-year-old divorced mother of two? I even gave up my career to look after the kids. I'm going to have to dust off my resume, then go back to work soon. Melissa answered with a small chuckle at the end. I'm sure you'll be fine. Thanks again for sending his details through. Hopefully I'll be able to have her served and end this. I replied, okay, goodbye. Ryan, look after yourself. Melissa replied. As we ended the call, Ryan's wife did send me his address, and my lawyer got someone to check within. The family was living there also, but it turns out that they're no longer together according to Ryan. Anyway, he advised that she, in a new contract, with Doctors Without Boundaries, that my lawyer should contact them about her. Whereabouts, it turns out Scarlett is on a 6-month contract in Honduras now, and my lawyer advised he has no way of having her served until she returns to the United States. I wasn't happy that this will drag out even longer, but shortly after, and to my surprise, Scarlett had already engaged with a divorce lawyer serving me at home. It was straightforward. She wasn't asking for anything. 6 months later, and we are now officially divorced. I haven't seen or heard from Scarlett during that time, and I don't really expect to in the future. I'd like to say that my life is wonderful now, but I'd be lying. My job's fine, my family's fine, and my friends are good. It's just been hard when it feels like I've lost the other half of myself, my best friend, my only lover. I'm told it'll get easier over time, that I'll find someone new to be with, but I'm not so sure. What I had with Scarlett was everything I ever wanted. I don't know if I can ever truly trust someone again. After what did to me, sometimes there are no happy endings, just the end of what was then, with those involved, trying to deal with it, trying to move on with their lives. I hope everyone's right, that this will get better with every passing day, but right now, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like I'm just coping with it, burying the hurt as far down as I can. I still don't understand why she did it. Maybe I never will. Thank you for taking the time to hear today's story. If you enjoyed this essay, please like it and subscribe. If you have not already, if you have a story to share regarding your or someone else's situation, please do not hesitate to contact me. Take care